Good afternoon. How are we all? First of all, I want to apologise. I wasn't live as much as I'd intended to be last week. So I'm continuing talking about business challenges during the course of this week. So today I am talking about knowing your numbers. Do you, as a business owner, know your numbers, or do you rely on your accountant? This is something that I see and I hear on such a frequent basis when I'm speaking to business owners, particularly in the construction and trades world, where I will ask them whether they know their profit level, their break-even point, etc. And the general response is, oh, I just leave the numbers and the accounts to my accountant. The problem is most of the time, and this isn't all accountants because I work with accountants that don't do this, but most of the time with accountants, all they will literally do is your end of year accounts, your tax return. If you're VAT registered, they'll deal with that and the payroll. They don't actually give you information on a week by week, month by month basis. So if you are relying on them to deal with your numbers and you're not going into your accounts package, if you even have an accounts package, to actually clarify what is going on in your business, you are immediately putting your business at risk, right? And the reason why I say that is, how can you make informed decisions about your business if you do not know where your numbers are? So, for example, if you want to buy machinery, if you want to take on staff, you've got a massive marketing opportunity, you can't just rely on the amount that is sitting in the bank. So you may have plenty sitting in the bank, but for example, have you made sure that some of that money is allocated in relation to your tax account, if you're VAT registered, your corporation tax, etc., etc.? Are you aware of what are your kind of standing orders, direct debits, key payments that are likely to be coming out of the bank? Because if you don't know your numbers in that much detail, you could look at your bank account and say, oh, I've got plenty of money, I can buy this asset, can buy that. And then you get to the point where, oh, your VAT is due. But because you haven't then separated that money out, you are then in a situation where you're like, how do I then pay the tax man? So by knowing your numbers on a day-to-day basis, you know what your expenditure is, you ultimately know what your break-even point is, and you can then be monitoring as to what your sales level is. Are you hitting that break-even point every single month, or are you some months making a loss? But by having access to your own accounts information and using a decent accounts package like Xero, you can then literally get that information at a click of a button. But that, of course, is on the basis that you keep your accounts up to date. And again, one of the challenges that I see, particularly in the trades and construction world, is they hate admin. They hate anything that is around this particular point. And what happens is, the accounts literally build up and build up and build up. And part and parcel of the reason why they don't feel confident in relation to dealing with their accounts is because nobody has sat down and taught them how to use the software. And if they have been taught, they've been taught quite frequently from an accountant or a traditional bookkeeper's perspective rather than a business owner. And yes, there is an element of, yes, you need to know a bit about how to deal with the bookkeeping component, but it is also about understanding your accounts as a business owner. And if you've not been trained on how to use the software properly, which I see time and time again, accountants will, for example, set it up, or they'll set it up themselves. And I see, for example, if trades often end up using QuickBooks because it is sold as being easier. But if the setup isn't done properly in the first place, for example, in what they call your chart of accounts, which is where you allocate your, anything you pay out, those aren't usually set up properly. So it means then you don't know where you're allocating money. Xero, for example, has a brilliant chart of accounts straight out of the box. So that makes it a heck of a lot easier. But so often I'm seeing where business owners aren't getting the support, whether it's a case of right at the beginning because they don't know that they need to get the support, so they don't think about an accountant until their tax return is done. Or what I see often is business owners then tackle their own tax return, and this is where I talk about, and this is a slightly different separate challenge that business owners have, but it ties in with the financial side, is having the experts on board to guide you. Ultimately, as a business owner, no doubt you have incredible skill and knowledge in terms of doing your day job. That's part of the reason why you probably set up your own business, is because you think, oh, you've seen other people do it, and you think, well, I can do this. But the business side is an entirely different skill set, which is why it's so important to have people like your accountant who is supporting you. They should be supporting you throughout the year, not just in relation to when you get to your end of year or on your quarterly basis if they're doing your VAT returns or when they're running your payroll for you. They need to be knowing what's going on. But also, you shouldn't be solely relying on them to do the information, to get the information and to give you the answers. You need to be able to work your way around the software yourself. And even if you're not IT savvy, I offer things like training where I teach you on how to use Xero so that you are then familiar, so you can work it around regardless of what your IT knowledge is. To me, I think Xero is easier to use than, for example, QuickBooks. But again, it is down to being trained on how to use it and understanding the language that often accountants will use. But part and parcel of what, when I'm working with accountants, and I will often refer my clients to accountants. The accountants I work with provide that continuous support throughout the year. They aren't your stereotypical accountant where they just do the end of year or that they don't provide the support. They want to get to know you as the business owner. They want to get to know your business. They want to know what your business goals are so that they can help you achieve them alongside the support that I provide my clients as well. So it is so important that, particularly given the current economic climate, you need to know what your numbers are. You need to be looking at where you can potentially trim back. You need to be knowing what your expenses are each month, because I bet you 9 times out of 10, you're not looking at actually your bank feed to see where the money is actually going. And even recently, I had a client where I've been converting them from QuickBooks to Xero. And this particular client, to be fair, they're not too bad in terms of expenditure, but there was something that they were purchasing that was on the marketing side. And I asked the question, have you had any work from this particular marketing activity? They'd been marketing with this particular company for about 7 months, and they'd had no sales from it, nothing. They've had no inquiries, no nothing, right? Now, in that particular instance, I said, ultimately, it's the business owner's decision, but this doesn't seem to be making financial sense. You're spending money and you're not getting anything back. Now, granted, when you try a new marketing activity, you have to give it a fair amount of time to see whether it works, which can be anything from 3 to 6 months, depending what the marketing activity is. But in this particular instance, it's 7 months at the moment, and there is nothing, there has been no value coming back from it. And these are the sorts of things that, as a business owner, particularly when you're looking at the smaller businesses where everything is on your shoulders, you need to know exactly what is coming out of the bank and where your expenses are to see whether they're actually expenses you even need to be incurring at this moment in time. And particularly given the current economic climate, that is something I strongly advise you to evaluate. Evaluate what your profit or loss is. Look at your profit and loss account. Look at your balance sheet. And if you don't know where this information is, then this is another reason why you should be getting training, particularly if you're using Xero. And if that is something you're potentially interested in doing, then do let me know, because I do offer Xero training. I don't advertise it as a separate package, but if it is something that you potentially want, given the current status, then please do let me know, and just put training in the comments, and I can then obviously get back to you, or send me a DM, absolutely fine, right? So making sure you know your numbers, your profit and loss, etc., knowing how much you owe to your suppliers, how much is owed to you by your customers. Do you have a solid credit control process in place? And for example, some, even particularly like Xero, for example, and I think even QuickBooks does, you can set invoice reminders so it's automated. And these are all the sorts of little intricacies that, unless you're familiar with the software, you don't necessarily know that are available that make your life easier. So key point for today is know your numbers. Now, if knowing your numbers is one of the challenges you're having, or you've got any other business challenges you're facing at the moment, or you really do want to recession proof your business, then I would strongly advise making the most of the promotion that I'm currently running in relation to the business review. The business review, I'm doing a 50% promotion where if you book it in the diary before the end of this month, you will get 50% off. But even as an added bonus on top of that, if you then take me on board as your business consultant going forward, you'll get that fee deducted off your first consultancy fee, right? So it's a no-brainer. So make sure that you get yourself, if you're interested in having the business review, put in the comments review, or DM me, and we can get something booked in the diary ASAP. But that's something that's really, really key. And one final thing I just wanted to also add in is the Business Fixer Mastermind. That's on the 26th of October. It's at the Plaza, the new business centre that is in Braintree. There are still some places remaining. And if it's something you're interested in, where you've got the training in the morning, and then in the afternoon, we do hot seating, choosing business owners in terms of the challenges they're facing. It's all about community. It's all about collaboration. So if you want to get booked into that, that is also a bargain price, £99 for the day, even includes lunch. So make sure that you put in the comments mastermind or DM me, and we can get you booked in ASAP. So just to quickly recap, know your numbers, make sure that you do, because ultimately you need to be able to recession proof your business, and get yourself booked in relation to a business review and also the Business Fixer Mastermind on the 26th of October. Thank you guys for listening. I shall be back soon with more business challenges, and I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day. Take care.